Welcome to my latest experiment. This is the big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. Just forget the whole shit. We could laugh about nothing. I impregnate your mind. Let's have a baby without fucking. I know it's corny bitches you wish you could unfollow. I know it's corny ninjas you wish you could unswallow. You tried to play nice, everybody just took advantage. You left your fridge open, somebody just took a sandwich. Welcome to the Guy and Harley podcast. I'm Guy Pigden.
And I'm Harley Neville. Genius stuff.
Yeah, so it's because I'm, speaking as an Englishman would, advantage, as opposed to advantage and sandwich.
Right.
That would rhyme better.
So if you're not speaking English, it rhymes.
Yes, correct.
Right.
If you have an American accent, it rhymes.
Right.
Yeah. Which I don't.
And who's that?
That is from the mind of my favorite rapper, Kanye West.
Again, more Kanye. You did Kanye 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I'm just going through his new album, and there's a few gems in there.
Right.
So just uncovering those.
That's a gem, is it?
Yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy all that, for sure. It's a special episode. It's the annual episode. We did it last year this time. Now we're doing things yearly because we've been broadcasting for over a year, and now it's time for the Oscars episode.
Well, I'm here at the Academy Awards, otherwise known as the White People's Choice Awards. You realize if they nominated host, I wouldn't even get this job. So y'all be watching Neil Patrick Harris right now. But here's the crazy thing. This is the wildest, craziest Oscars to ever host because we got all this controversy. There's no black nominees, and people are like, Chris, you should boycott. Chris, you should quit. You should quit. How come there's only unemployed people that tell you to quit something,
So hopefully we played a little something there. So the Oscars been and went on Sunday or last Sunday, one of the Sundays. And there's some shockers, some shocking things, and of course there was the, all white people getting award nominations and stuff like that.
Well, white people are better actors, to be fair.
Well, white people get better roles, definitely, to be fair, which is probably part of the issue. So, although it should be pointed out that one of the biggest, or two of the biggest box office stars of sort of the last 20 years have been Denzel Washington and Will Smith. And in fact, Will Smith being the top for maybe not quite 20 years, and he has sort of had a string of flops recently, but for sort of 15 years he was the most popular actor in the world, a man of color. And he was Oscar nominated in that time for Ali, and maybe one other one as well, In Pursuit of Happiness, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, so Chris Rock kicked off proceedings with a monologue where he addressed some of these issues, and was quite a funny monologue. We're going to play a little bit of that now.
Now, the thing is, why are we protesting? That's the big question. Why this Oscars? Why this Oscars? It's the 88th Academy Awards. It's the 88th Academy Awards, which means this whole no black nominees thing has happened at least 71 other times. Okay? You got to figure that it happened in the 50s, in the 60s, In the 60s, one of those years, Sydney didn't put out a movie. I'm sure there were no black nominees some of those years, say 62 or 63, and black people did not protest. Why? Because we had real things to protest at the time. We had real things to protest. We're too busy being raped and lynched to care about who won Best Cinematographer. When your grandmother's swinging from a tree, it's really hard to care about Best Documentary Foreign Short.
So that's what he said. What do you think, Harley?
Yeah, you should probably warn me when you're going to play a clip like that, and I'll listen to it before the show. So yeah, thank you.
Well, also the other thing that was quite good is Sacha Baron Cohen, who you might know as Borat or Ali G or Bruno. He was at the Oscars, and they asked him to, introduce, best something or other, best comedy maybe, who knows. No, there's no best comedy, don't know what it was for. We'll find out in this clip I'm about to play, but basically they were like, look, Sasha, we just want you to be a normal person for this. We don't want you doing any crazy characters that are going to offend a bunch of people. And he was like, sweet ass. And so he walked in as Sacha Baron Cohen, and then in the toilets, he put on his fake mustache and glasses and one glove and came out as Ali G, and did quite a hilarious introduction where he sort of made light, I guess, of the racial issues. But that was apparently not approved or sanctioned, and the Oscars weren't really happy that he did that. But that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So this is that.
Booyakasha. I know what you was thinking when I walked on. Here comes yet another token black presenter. But it ain't just me brethren that has been overlooked. It is all people of all colours. How come there's no Oscar for them very hard-working little yellow people with tiny dongs? The minions. But I is here, representing all them who has been overlooked. Will Smith, Idris Elba, and of course, the amazing black bloke from Star Wars, Darth Vader. This is for you. Now check out a movie about a room full of white people.
So you haven't heard either of those things?
No. Had you warned me, I tell you what I did listen to. I did listen to Leonardo DiCaprio's, watch Leo's acceptance speech.
Leo!
I did watch that, because that was history in the making.
What was your... So I guess we'll talk about the winners. We'll talk about that. Let's get to it. Lead actor in a leading role, Leonardo DiCaprio, The Revenant. Have you seen The Revenant yet?
Haven't seen it.
Good.
Angie watched it without me, so I, never got around to seeing it.
Did she go see it with someone?
Yeah.
That wasn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. What did she think?
She liked it.
Yeah, well, look, Oscar for Best Actor and Best Man Crawling Along the Ground for half a film went to Leonardo DiCaprio for The Revenant. And I think it was his fourth or fifth, and everyone was like, this is just a joke if he doesn't get it this time, because he'd been nominated so many times. And then he did a speech where he sort of talked about, he made light of global warming, didn't he?
Leo?
Yeah, or was it just the
opposite?
Earth?
He said the opposite. He said global warming is real, and we all need to act upon it.
That's what I'm saying. He made light of global warming.
Made light of means poked fun at.
No. That's make fun of.
No, mate. Made light of is like when you play it down, like racism or something like that. You play it down, you make light of it.
That is... Okay, now I'm 100% confident in our listeners. If you make light of something, you are addressing this topic. You are making light of it, as in you are bringing it into the light. That is the definition of making light of something. It does not mean making lighthearted out of something. It means you're making light of an issue.
I don't even know how you survived this long in this modern world, but making light of something is where you where you don't treat it seriously. You're making light of a serious topic. You are taking away from it. Guy's frantically Googling.
I'm Googling it now. Oh shit, you're right.
I'm always right.
So he didn't make light of it.
No, he didn't make light of it.
He downplayed it. That's downplaying it.
He didn't downplay it either. Downplaying it is...
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, making light of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I thought making light of was simply addressing something.
Bringing it to light.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So, anyway, he said something about global warming.
Yeah, he basically said it's real and we need to stop. We need to start voting for leaders around the world that recognise that and are doing something about it. And it's very serious. It's the greatest threat humanity has ever faced in the history of humanity. And we all need to wake the fuck up and address it, basically. And we've all got a little part to play and we should all do it. It was a good speech. It was short, to the point, and also just kind of, entertaining.
Yeah, I think that's good. If you've got an open forum to talk about something where, the world is essentially listening to these idiot actors, then you might as well say something good, right?
Yeah, but you don't get to Leo's level by being an idiot actor. I think he's almost certainly a genius as well.
He's certainly an acting savant.
But I'm sure that if he had put his mind to something else when he was young, he would have been very good at that thing as well, I'm sure. Whatever it was, I'm sure he would have been good at it. That's
I don't know, though.
Thing.
Do
when
you really think... I think that you can be really good at one thing, but I don't necessarily think you... some people aren't really multi-talented.
I guess it depends what what alternative thing he might have put his mind to. We can only speculate. But, I don't know. For example, I was watching George Carlin, and I was like, oh, this guy's a comedian when I first went in and started watching George Carlin. Yep. And then by the end of it, I was kind of like, actually, this guy's not really just a comedian. He's a genius who has decided to express his opinions through comedy, but he could have done it in any number of other ways, and he could have concentrated on all sorts of things. And he's clearly a very smart man, and it's kind of the same, I'm sure, with Leo. I reckon he is a very smart man, and you don't reach the top by being dumb, I don't reckon. So I just reckon that he probably could do any number of things. He just happened to concentrate on acting.
But it's a very specific set of skills to be an actor. Looking good, one of them, and acting good. That's 1 and 2.
No. That's barely scratching the surface. The rest of it is good networking, good promotion.
Choosing well.
It's good choices. It's good people skills. Like you go into the audition or you go to the party or whatever, and you're meeting those people and shaking those hands, and you're making a good impression on people and having that ability to read the situation and act accordingly in order to benefit yourself the most,
I guess, but acting is probably the one profession where unprofessionalism is both accepted and to some degrees encouraged. So I don't feel like, I do think those things help you, but I also don't think that they are necessary for success.
I think they're necessary to get to his level.
Oh, I don't know, though, because haven't we heard all the stories about, other people sort of on that level who are kind of, to some degree, crazy egomaniacs? Mel Gibson, he was at the top of his game, he was acting in a string of all these good to decent films. He then started directing super successful films, good to decent films. What do you think of The Passion of the Christ, by the way?
I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty good. It was nice to see Jesus getting tortured. After all he did to the world, it's good. After all his followers have done to the world, it was nice to see Jesus getting tortured. But yeah, it was all right. It was fine. It was fine. I much preferred Apocalypto.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Well, yeah, I thought that was pretty good too. But then, like I said, then there's all these crazy stories of him that surface, recordings, mad rantings, and all that sort of stuff. But you have to imagine that, for 20 years he was doing that, and that was just the way it was.
Well, I don't know. People change over 20 years. Maybe he was much more screwed on for 20 years, and then he kind of went off the rails, as people are wont to do.
That's possible.
Like especially when you've got the world at your fingertips, all the money you want, and all the people are just bowing down everywhere you walk. You're gonna end up in crazy la la land eventually. Well, Leo's done well to not have done any major public weird things.
The Great Gatsby was not very good.
I haven't seen it.
Was not a good film, but he is, and I guess I think that's probably marks the A-list from the AA list, is the ability to choose really quality projects consistently and over again.
Well, you can't fault him for choosing one that is not very good, though.
Well, that was very popular.
Other ones,
that was very popular, so it doesn't really matter what I think about it,
right?
Because it made a lot of money. So he won for Best Actor. Best Actress was Brie Larson for The Room. Neither of us have seen The Room. Apparently, it is a masterclass and a very good film too. In fact, The Room was nominated for Best Picture. There was some controversy. Best Director and Best Picture are normally, or very often, voted the same. Because, obviously it's a very good movie. Who gets credit for that? Director gets credit. He's the best director. In this case, that did not happen. So, Best Director was, it's very difficult to pronounce this name, Alejandro G. Inarritu.
So it's Alejandro
G. Inarritu. Inarritu. Something like that. So he won Best Director, but unfortunately, he did not win Best Film. Best Film went to Spotlight, which was not a film that probably many people have seen, even that are listening to this podcast that are movie nerds.
Yeah, well, two of our friends, Joss and Mike, Joss, who played Susan in I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, she and her husband Mike raved about it, loved it, thought it was amazing. Said they spoke about it for days afterwards and highly recommended I go see it.
This was directed by Tom McCarthy, who was also nominated for Best Director, obviously. And basically it's the newspaper. It's about journalism, and it's about these guys who uncovered, some, like a kind of a big scandal, a big church scandal, about, some pedophilia that had been going on, and then had been child sex abuse in the Boston area by numerous Roman Catholic priests, which had been hushed up by the church itself. And so that's what won Best Picture. Sounds all right. Probably not going to go see it, though.
I would quite like to go see it. I'm curious.
Of all the Best Pictures and stuff this year, I've failed pretty badly. I've seen 3. I've seen Mad Max, which I would have picked as Best Film.
I did not think Mad Max was very good.
The Martian.
I did like that.
The Revenant. Those are the 3 that I've seen. But Mad Max is, in terms of like the craft of filmmaking, a phenomenal achievement, whether or not you agree with the story or not. Purely from a filmmaker to another filmmaker, looking at how a film is constructed, it is really pretty insanely, talk about a genius. And this guy is George Miller, who's like 70 now. And so it's even more impressive because as people tend to sort of head into their sort of 50s to 60s, their films often get a little bit worse. So I thought that probably should have got it, but then again, I haven't seen half the fucking nominees. And that's really the end of the Oscars.
That's the Oscars special on the Guy and Harley podcast.
Haven't really seen that many of the films. Don't really know what we're talking about. The end. Harley didn't listen to the clips beforehand because I didn't tell him about them. The end.
The end.
Although I will just say quickly that James Gunn, who was the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, said in a tweet, "I fucking hate when Best Picture goes to a different film than Best Director. Does our own industry not understand what a director does?" Thoughts?
It sounds like a load of shit, really, because you can direct it good and edit it, and the editor can do a really shit job, and you don't say, like say the editor did a really, really bad job, right? It was a good film, shot well, but the editor just totally fucked it up. It made no sense. You wouldn't say that the director should get worst director, you know? Because it's not his fault that the editor fucked it up. So on the flip side of that, like he can direct a film really well, but if all the pieces, like it's not just him that did it, basically.
Well, his response to that was, because someone said, so you're saying the rest of the crew, producers, screenwriters, EGC have nothing to do with Best Picture? Gunn responded, no, but the director directs all of those people. You can judge a director's performance in one way, by the film itself. So that's his counter-argument to that. I will say...
Sounds a little weak to me.
For me, I do see his point, but I also think, you're right, that other things can be... many other things...
Many other things can go wrong.
And that aren't really the director's fault.
And then on the flip side of that, a director can actually do kind of a shit job and be completely saved by the editor and be saved by various other people down the line.
Yep.
As well, and so that's why you can't just automatically give best film to the best director. Doesn't make any sense.
Do kind of agree, but on the same token, the problem with that logic is that you can't, the only result you see is the final film after all of those things have happened. And you're still judging his directing on that final film, one way or the other.
If anything, it should be best producer that gets best film, because it's the producer that's orchestrating it. It's the producer that's really, the director works for the producer. It's the producer that finds their editor. It's the producer that finds, all those people, the cast and so on. And that finds that director. They're the one orchestrating it. They're the ones that sort of ultimately made that film.
But on the flip side of that, the director could have fought tooth and nail with that producer from day one and sort of basically enforced his will on the picture, which kind of negated all the shitty ideas the producer was trying to do and saved the film.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know that.
So what that means, though, is that obviously it's a complicated situation with many factors, and clearly you cannot just automatically give best film to the best director. It doesn't make sense. There's too many variables.
There are probably too many variables, but I do also think that because they're judged on the same thing, that being the final film, you maybe could. But anyway, that is the amazing Oscars segment of our episode.
Things are going to be a little different at the Oscars. This year, in the in memoriam package, it's just going to be black people that were shot by the cops on their way to the movies.
Yay. I had an audition.
Oh, good for you. And how was it? I hope it was fucking good, because it's useless now, isn't it? Fuck's sake, man, you're amateur. But no! Don't shut me up. This is the second time that he doesn't give a fuck. For fuck's sake.
And it went really well.
Can you talk about what the audition was for?
Well, I can say it's a feature film being shot later this year in Smellington, New Zealand. And it's a lead role. It's the main guy. He's in every scene pretty much. I don't think there was any scenes without him.
Yep.
And it's a really cool role and quite well suited to me. And I went along and did the audition, and it went really solid. And I think the really exciting thing about it is that I don't really get put forward to audition for the lead role in many films. I get put forward for ads and stuff like that. But this last kind of 6 months, I feel like the roles I've been put forward for are much juicier roles than they used to be. Feels like I'm rising up the ranks with my agent or something like that. And apparently, all the other people that got seen for this role through my agent were all her kind of A-listers, of which I am not one. But I got put forward for the role anyway.
Pisses me off.
Well, why? I've not been on Shortland Street.
Yeah, you've been in something better, a fucking feature film, as the lead actor, which is, by any standard of qualification, I guess
just the world, man. I'm just pissed off at the world.
I'm pissed off at the attitude of casting agents or agents themselves and this idea that like there is an A-list in New Zealand, because
Yeah, but they're just talking about recognisable faces. That's all they're saying. And I am not in New Zealand or anywhere a recognisable face.
yeah, but that's the thing is like, how are you ever going to not stop recycling the people at the top without looking at people who aren't recognisable faces?
But like Mike Edward, for example, he, I'm sure, who played Adam the Body Harrison in I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, he, I'm sure, if he was on my agent's books, would be one of the A-list, I'm guessing. Now, you've worked with Mike. You'd happily work with him again. He did a really great job. And so it just makes sense that these recognisable faces, they get reused because they're good. And, you know, you're just going to... You put them forward because they're good at auditioning. They know... They take it professionally and seriously.
Sure.
And they do a good job, you know?
But there's a difference between, like, that... Because, you know, that would be a million actors who aren't put forward as well. And I think what's frustrating to me, I mean, I can talk directly about I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, is they directly... Most of the agents in Auckland and Wellington withheld their A-list. So they're like, you know what? This film is not good enough to show our A-list people. We will show you the people below that. We will not even bother our, like, who we consider to be the best people on our books with this.
Yeah, so Carl Urban never got the script.
So Carl Urban, unfortunately, never got a shot at auditioning for Wesley.
The poor son of a bitch. He could have been Adam the Body Harrison.
Yeah, sure. I mean... I guess the point is, like, it's, you know, this very classist system, which is not working well, is not, I just think it's the wrong way. It's just like, look, see all the people, not just the A-list, see all the fucking people that can act. Let's just start there. If they've got a, like...
But come on, man, we cast things. We cast older, for example.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you kind of go... Look, I don't want to see every fucking Joe Schmo that you reckon can act. I just want to see the best people you've got. And inevitably, the recognisable people are also the best people. That's why they're recognisable, because they keep getting cast and shit.
I disagree.
Because they're good, you know?
I disagree. I actually don't think that's the case at all. I think that, you know, there's...
Maybe they're not good, but they're professional, show up on time, know their lines, you know, they're good at getting the gig.
But that should basically be anyone on an agent's books. So,
yeah, but it's not.
Well, in the top agencies, it probably is. You know, I certainly haven't had any issues with anyone really who have been in those good agents. You know, having any types of problems, but they're not being put forward for all the roles that they could or should be. And so, yeah, I just think that's a bit of a flaw in the system as a whole.
I guess the other thing too, though, is sometimes they are looking for somebody that they recognise. You know, like it's like, okay, so we're looking for the lead role in a film. We don't want a complete unknown.
Well, it's true.
You know, and or maybe it's just they say, well, actually, our whole film is riding on this person being good, so we don't want someone with zero experience who is a really good actor, but we can't really 100% trust them. You know, we want bloody Jason Gunn or one of these recognisable faces. You know,
Jason Gunn. I don't even know if you would qualify Jason Gunn.
No,
it's a recognisable face.
He is totally still a recognisable.
Well, he's
face.
a recognisable face.
Of course, he is. Jason Gunn.
Sure, he is. Yeah, sure.
But yeah. So you're going to go for that kind of recognisable. It's insurance for your production. You know, it's like, okay, well, look, we know that Mike Edward can do a good job. So even though we could cast, this other buff guy who's a really good actor who doesn't have as much experience, we're not. We're going to go for the safe route. You know, because we know this guy's good at working. You know, and he's going to show up and he's going to do a good job and he's going to give it his all.
Well, it all just seems a bit fucking dry for me. So I'm glad that you got that audition, but I don't think that it should. It should have never been a question. Should have never been a question. It's like, this guy is suited for this role. Let's see him.
Well, what's really good about it is, you know, all the auditions I've had lately. Well, not all of them. That's not true. But a lot of the auditions I've had lately I've been shortlisted for, and then, you know, it went up. I can probably tell you now, because seeing as I didn't get the role, it was for The Evil Dead. That was the role that I spoke of a few episodes back. I didn't get the role, but that was kind of a big opportunity and kind of interesting. That's a big international show, and then now to get put forward for the lead role in a feature. So I really feel like positive about 2016.
That's good.
But I did on the other side of the spectrum there. The Aussie ad that I shot in December still isn't out, and I flew over there for it, and I asked my agent about it the other day, and I said, hey, so what's the story with that ad? Have you heard anything? And she said, oh, hang on, let me just have a wee look here at when it was meant to transmit. And she had a look. It was meant to broadcast on February 1st, and it's now March 5th or 8th or something. I don't even know what the date is, but it's March something, So, and it's not out. And so I'm a little bit concerned now. I'm starting to worry. So I was thinking on Monday I'm going to email the director and say, hey, it's me. Have you heard anything?
Yeah. Well, look, it might be worth doing that for sure.
My girlfriend's starting to think that I went away for a dirty weekend. No shit. She's starting to think that I did not get cast in an ad and I just made up an excuse to go to Sydney for a dirty weekend for 4 nights.
Look, as far as like sort of excuses or stories go, believable stories go, that was a good one.
It is good, but of course then when the ad doesn't come out, it all falls through. There's 2 things. One,
no, because you can hide behind the fact that some ads are never released.
They're never released, yeah. So, but one
can only work probably twice.
Yeah, exactly. It might work twice, but also, where's the money?
Well, that's the thing.
It's like
what you would do.
So you go back and you come back poorer than when you left because you spent all your money on your mistress and your hotel.
Basically, what you'd have to do is set aside. So, say the trip is going to cost a couple of grand.
Yeah, you save up for it.
You save up an extra like $4,000, right? You spend that $2,000, then you transfer $4,000 from one account to another, and act like you've just got that money.
Yeah. Now look, I like the way you think.
Cheating is, it takes
business.
If you want your sort of alibis to be airtight, you've got to really think this stuff through.
I like the way you think, but that is some serious prep work.
Yeah.
Saving up $6,000 or something.
Yeah.
When it's all
to
said
say
and done.
that you've got an ad overseas.
Yeah, and then just be like, oh, sorry, the ad, or like, oh no, I'm really gutted, and then you have to act all sad, like, oh no, I'm so gutted that ad didn't come out.
It's true, but I mean, the lengths that people go to sort of cheat is, I mean, this is probably happened.
It's elementary, that one.
Yeah.
It's fucking, that's cheating level 0.
Exactly.
It's nothing.
And, to be fair, this probably has happened. An actor or director or someone probably has done this.
Yeah. Oh, I've got to go away for work for the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's to be expected. But you didn't do that, and we are just waiting for that ad. Who knows when it will come out? Hopefully soon.
Well, definitely, because I'm kind of pinning all my hopes on that ad as far as just elevating my profile a little bit more, making people go, oh, this guy's not just a dude that makes dick jokes on Facebook. He's actually an actual actor who gets cast in things too.
Yeah. Because I guess sometimes that that credibility can be stretched a little thin.
Well, it can be, especially when it's 6 months between productions coming out, or more.
Yeah.
And when it does come out, it's a 4-minute wank joke. That still hasn't come out yet, but our new skit is on the way at some point. As soon as Guy gets off his ass and goes around to the editors and does a sweep with the editor.
No, I'm waiting for the editor to make those changes.
Oh, so you're not going to go over there with him and sit beside him? And
once he's made these changes, I will if there needs further changes, but we're still waiting on those changes.
Well, the score for my poem Gravity is complete, and the editor got back to me and said it will be out at the end of next week. It'll be ready at the end of next week.
Right. Next week.
Well, like as in tomorrow is Sunday, so next week.
Okay.
7 days from now.
Right. Well, that's good. I mean, we should probably talk. I mean, a little bit about older now. As we have.
Well, look. While you're talking about older.
Yeah.
You can entertain the crowd, the masses. I realise I left my notes in my room. Can you talk by yourself for 20 seconds?
20 seconds? Yeah, I can probably stretch 20 seconds. But we've just finished the latest cut of Older, which was, a pretty huge thing. We had, I've been sort of editing on it since we finished filming, which was, I guess, sort of February or March of 2014, and since then it's been kind of stuck in the sort of editing limbo. Sometimes I've been working on it, sometimes I haven't been, but it is now officially sort of all put together. And one of the perks which we did for our Indiegogo campaign to raise money for it is that we release a rough cut to those to all the people that gave us money.
Really? Did we agree to that?
Yeah.
But then what happens if they put it online and then there's a shit version of the film floating around?
Well, we just have to hope they don't. That's really the only answer to that.
Well, damn! I didn't really think that through.
Well, no, I think it's good because it gives us an opportunity to get to basically do testing on the thing, and we can and so what I've got to figure out first, we'll do another cut of it before it actually goes out, because at the moment it's running at 2 hours and 24 minutes.
Yeah,
which is
what's the ideal duration in your mind for this film?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's an hour and a half. I think it might be a bit longer than that. But certainly my first goal is to get it under 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's my first goal. And to think, certainly the first goal would be to get it 30 minutes shorter, and then sort of assess from that point.
Because I reckon 100 minutes is 100 minutes or less is a good sort of duration to aim for.
Yep.
And seeing as we're at like 145 minutes, I don't know,
yeah, something like that.
But that's a fuckload that needs to be chopped out. 2 hours 25 needs to be chopped down to an hour 40.
Yep.
Now that is 45 minutes of gold, and it's all gold. I've been telling people lately about it, saying, they go, "Oh, how's the film going?" I go, "Oh, it's really good, but it's too long and it needs to be chopped down." But even in its current state, it's watchable. I feel it's watchable from start to finish.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's definitely a bit bloated, but still, it's not like cringy, and I didn't find it really boring. And it has been a couple of years since we shot it. So it's like it was kind of fresh for me as well, because I'm not sitting here with you while you edit it.
Yep.
So it was fresh for me, and I was still entertained, and I didn't cringe at all, which I cringe when I'm involved with a production that's not that's cringeworthy.
Yep.
That happens sometimes, and I've been making films for 16 years, so I am familiar with the cringy films. I recognize them, and this is not one of them. I think it's good.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's the question is, how good can it be? Can it be really good, or will it just be good? And I don't know the answer to that. And I also don't know the answer to what it is that we should look at, cutting. I think that's you can break it down on a scene-by-scene basis and say, well, look, this could be shorter, this could be longer, whatever. But, making those real big, tough decisions of look, we just got to lose this whole thing. This whole piece of the film has to go.
Cut this entire character.
Yeah.
This entire character needs to go.
Yeah, it's stuff like that. And to be honest, what I found with the zombie film when we were editing that is there was people that were sort of like, we need to just cut this whole bit or that whole bit. And I was like, nah, because if you do that, you kind of just fuck up the whole narrative, because everything is interconnected, everything leads to something else, everything's foreshadowing. There's many, many layers at play here, and it's kind of like a house of cards. You take one card out and they all fall down. And what was ultimately the answer for the zombie film was basically cutting big chunks out of each scene, but it wasn't removing just scenes in their entirety, really. Although, of course, some scenes did go, for sure, but it was a lot more about getting those scenes to their most concise, sort of punchy, possibility in terms of the edit. And so I guess that is certainly the first approach I'll take with Older.
Right. Well, just while we're just harking back briefly to Zombie Holocaust, I just wanted to say I actually got some feedback online from one Ryan J. Fleming, who is a man in the UK who just watched I Survived a Zombie Holocaust now that it's out over there. And he said, okay, so I just watched I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. Fucking awesome. I laughed my bollocks off. Top marks to all involved. Really funny stuff. Reminded me of a much better made Bad Taste.
Would have preferred a comparison to Brain Dead, but that's fine.
That's fine. Jessica Valentine is proper fit too.
Interesting observation, Ryan, and true.
He also said, here, I've spread the word tonight at the pub about your film, whilst getting the title correct. Because people over there call it I Survived a Zombie Apocalypse because there's a reality show about zombies called I Survived a Zombie Apocalypse.
Which unfortunately came out sometime last year.
Yeah, and the funny thing was that when we were making Zombie Holocaust, they got the funding for Zombie Apocalypse, and I remember reading about it at the same time. But basically, he said about that, he said, I doubt you got to see I Survived a Zombie Apocalypse, so their reality show, but it sucked major balls and disappeared without a trace after one very short season over here. Basically, a bunch of cunty city brokers thrown together in a room with piss-poor Halloween levels of made-up zombies, half-arsing it about outside while they had to complete tasks like fetching a food token from 30 feet away without getting touched by a bored extra in a raggedy zombie suit. It's hard to describe the lameness of it all.
Well, I think he did a pretty good job.
Trouble is, I've spread the word tonight up at the pub about your film whilst getting the title correct, and everyone instantly refers to the shitty show. I put them right, of course, but the damage is done. And he said here, I spotted all the deliberate camera angle nods to things like Resident Evil games, Night of the Living Dead, etc. Even the last scenes are instantly recognizable nods to the proper Day of the Dead and the Quiet Earth. I fucking loved it. Best zombie flick I've seen since Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake, for my money.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
So some nice positive feedback. So if you listeners, let's cut the shit. The people that listen to our podcast have seen I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. Let's cut the shit.
Let's be realistic about this.
If you're one of the listeners that hasn't seen I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, please go and watch it. It's on iTunes. Go to Facebook, facebook.com/ISAZH, and if you click on the banner image there, it's got all the links to all the places you can buy it all around the world, hopefully including your country.
And if you're an Indiegogo campaign supporter of Older, look out for that link to the sort of the fine cut in, well, probably a couple of months.
Now, I have some more positive news.
Oh, that's good.
About filmmaking. This is from...
It's about time.
Nick. Now, I don't even know how to say this fella's last name. I'll make an effort. Nick Zalardi. S-Z-A. How do you say that noise? Zalardi. Nick Zalardi. Anyway, I said, he sent me a message randomly the other day on Facebook. I've never interacted with him before. He said, hey, can you settle an argument for us? Which Pigville film, what's the name of the Pigville film which is about a killer shit? Can you settle an argument for us?
Yeah. And
I said, that's Revenge of the Turd. And he said, yes, I was right. And I said, why were you guys, how did you find that? Why were you looking at that, And he said, this is what he said. Think back to the days before unlimited broadband. In an effort to stop my 12-year-old self and 10-year-old brother from using up our monthly 2 gigabytes of internet on YouTube, my father introduced us to Ziln, which was unmetered on Telstra Clear. Now, Ziln was an old platform that we kind of got picked up on. We got our web series, The Project, got picked up on it. And we kind of assumed that nobody was watching, basically.
Yep.
This was years ago. It was really cool that we were up on this website, and it was kind of like a Netflix before Netflix kind of thing, but for independent content.
Kind of was.
Yeah, but it was kind of a lot of it was independent content still. But anyway, we were up there our whole series, and this guy evidently found it and then added me at some point. As the years went on and the restrictions on internet usage loosened, we eventually found ourselves back on YouTube, where we found WCRP, We're Cunts, The Heat and Eat, and of course, The Revenge of the Turd. The other day, we were discussing vintage YouTube videos. Not sure how I feel about vintage YouTube videos. This is from his childhood.
Yeah.
Our content is now a part of his childhood.
That's pretty insane.
While we both agreed that the one with the shit was one of our favourites, we couldn't agree on what it was called. Turns out I was correct.
Nice.
So, Nick, thank you very much for the years of support.
Yeah, that's, I guess, when did the project come out?
It
was probably 7 years ago.
Yeah, to be honest, I was 27 because we shot it when we were like 24 or something, but it came out when I was 27. I remember because it was just before it was when I first moved to Dunedin to shoot I Survived a Zombie Holocaust.
Well, it's always good to know that you've influenced and inspired the young minds.
The youth.
The young minds of the future.
Yeah. More positive news.
Right, shit. You got 3 in a row.
Yeah, so our Patreon account. Now, we have a Patreon account. That's where people can, if they choose to, give us money to continue creating content. And the way it works is that, if you find a content creator you like and you want to support them and continue and encourage them to continue creating content, you can say, all right, I'll give you, X amount of dollars or $1 per video you put out with the, to the maximum of 3 videos a month or 4 videos a month or whatever you decide basically. And so on Patreon, we got our very first sponsor, patron. Good. That is from Jeremy Howson.
Oh,
he has pledged $1 per video.
Love it.
So when Gravity comes out next week, that's going to cost you $1.
Boom. $1 in our pockets.
And but that's how you just got to get the ball rolling. We've got that first one. Okay, now we're on board. Like now shit's happening.
Well, look, one of my favorite sayings is just building another brick for the mansion.
Yep.
That's another brick for the mansion right there.
Yep. It is. Well, so if you guys want to help us out on Patreon, I will post it in the link of the description on Facebook, facebook.com/Guy and Harley when we post this. Otherwise, go to patreon.com and search Pigville and you will find us.
Well, we should talk, speaking of Patreon and money, we should probably talk about my new career, my new foray into, I'm giving up filmmaking and I'm becoming an Uber driver.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Now, we talked about the Pigville semi-pro fund and, that was all a great laugh for those 2 months that it was happening. It was it was
3 months.
3 months. It was a great time. It was the time of our lives. But now...
It was the time of your life.
It was the time of my life.
I was going to work full-time still, and I was just giving you money.
But, it's all come crashing down now because basically since, now there's no more semi-pro money to be had, and so I'm just working part-time because I can't get back my full-time hours at my other job, which means that I am now financially destitute and in very real threat of bankruptcy. And so I'm sort of just hanging on by a limb day to day, week to week, really sort of struggling to survive now. And that, that's the flip side of the creative the creative pursuits. 1 minute you're flying high, the money's there, the next minute you're fucked. And so I've been sort of thinking of ways of which I can sort of start earning a bit more cash because I don't really want to quit my job. My job is good. The problem is my job does not give me enough hours. But it's great because of the time that it is and I can do other stuff around it, blah, blah, blah. So I've just started looking into Uber driving. Which hopefully everyone is now familiar with. And you can make a fair bit of coin. Now, there are a few obstacles and you have to get a special license. So I've been doing the special license courses and kind of doing all the kind of bureaucratic paperwork that it takes to sort of get your Uber set up. I will also have to get a new car. That's the other issue because my car is a piece of shit and Uber cars have to be within 10 years. They have to be not older than 10 years. So I'm sort of looking into all of that, but I went down to do like one of these tests today and the VTNZ, which is the Vehicle Testing New Zealand, I think, are fucking useless. They're fucking terrible. Specifically the Kingsland station where I go, so basically they were like, so all I had to do was fill in a form, right? I'd done all the other stuff. I'd had a medical test. I'd passed this, what you call a P endorsement course, which basically means that you sort of understand the rules and regulations that a taxi driver or a small passenger vehicle can travel, and all those sort of restrictions, and how much you can work and all that shit. So I did that course, I've done that, I give them a medical certificate to say I'm medically fit and able, my eyesight is good, I'm good, right? So the only thing they have to do basically is feed this piece of paper through their system, and then it goes away. It takes sort of 6 weeks for them. You need a fit and proper persons check, which basically means that you're not a rapist, repeat sex offender, or have a shady criminal past of any kind. And they're testing that out. But all this lady had to do, right, was feed my application through. I went there at sort of quarter past 1, and I got out of there at 3 p.m. And it took that long for her to just type in the details in her computer, right? But the thing is, she didn't say to me, hey, you know what? This is going to be sort of an hour and a half wait. So, do you want to go and do something else and come back? Do you want to come back later? Or just to be aware, you're going to be sitting here for an hour and a half. She just goes, sweet, thank you very much, take a seat. And an hour and a half later, I got fucking back up and finished the application. And that is shit. That is shitty service. They also took a photo of me as I am, and you can't see me at the moment, but I have a beard, I haven't had a haircut, I look like, well, I'm calling
those bastards.
I'm calling it 1980s bad guy, 1980s villain look at the moment is kind of what I got going on. But the thing is, I thought they were just going to use my photo from my normal driver's license, but they're like, sweet, so we're going to take a new photo, and this photo has to be displayed, this is part of the rules, has to be displayed at all times, sort of in the front with you, which is visible to the passengers. So they're like, sweet, so we're just going to take a photo of you now. And I was like, are you just going to use the one from my driver's license? They're like, no, we take a new one. And I was like, fuck, well, I'm not going to go. I've been waiting here in an hour and a half. I am not going to go away, have a shave, tidy myself up, and come back. But
which you could have done if she had told you.
Exactly what I could have done had she told me I'd be waiting that long and that I was going to be taking a photo. Instead, I just stood there looking like Osama bin Laden. And that is what is going to be on my my passenger service license for the next 5 years.
Good.
So that's what I've been up to. New Uber driving experiment. We'll see how that goes, but I'm hoping that it will get me out of this financial trough that I've recently fallen into.
Well, I too have been dealing with applications, new career paths, and bureaucracy. I have put in an application to be a Pastafarian wedding celebrant. Now, it was actually a lot more work than I thought. It was...
Most things are.
Department of Internal Affairs was who I was dealing with. I needed altogether about 13 or 14 different signatures on my form. I needed a criminal check. I had to pass like a test. There was all sorts of stuff that had to be done to become a wedding celebrant. And I sent away my application on Tuesday, and I'm waiting to hear if it's a yay or a nay. Now, I did miss out on becoming the world's first Pastafarian celebrant, and there's an arms race, a Pastafarian arms race going on right now underneath the nose of the New Zealand public. They don't even know about it because the woman that first started, the woman that made it legal in New Zealand for Pastafarians to be celebrants at weddings, the woman who fought for that, she wanted to be the first one. And she was ahead of me, and she did it. But the wedding that she had lined up a couple of weekends ago fell through. So she became the first celebrant, and that was in Time magazine. I missed out on getting into Time magazine. And it's had
the Time magazine.
The Time magazine. The real Time magazine.
Right. Not Time Out.
Yeah, not Time Out magazine. And so she got in there, and I saw I've seen various articles pop up, and they've had like thousands of shares and stuff, about the first ministeroni, that's what they're called.
Clever, I see what they did there.
The first Pastafarian ministers, that can do weddings. And so anyway, I've missed out on that. But the thing is, the real money comes from the first Pastafarian wedding. And her wedding fell through 2 weekends back. And I've got a wedding lined up on April 16th. So if I can get approved and beat her to it, I will steal all of her thunder. Like a little weasel, like a little rat weasel. She worked really hard for this, and I'm going to swoop in and be the face of celebrants in New Zealand, by doing the first... celebrants in the world, because there's nowhere in the world, I don't think, that Pastafarians can wed people apart from in New Zealand. First to give women the vote, and now this.
First to give pastors the marriage approval certificate. So does this mean that you can marry anyone?
Yes, anyone that is happy to have a Pastafarian wedding.
You could make a nice bit of coin off this.
Yeah, you can. Of course you can.
I mean, celebrants themselves do fuck all.
Yeah.
I've like, my sister got married with a celebrant, so she, says, look, we welcome here, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. She's got a little book all laid out there.
Yeah.
You want to say your vows? Hey,
sign the forms.
Say something like, she says something kind of somewhat profound about the union. That's it, man. And I'm sure she collected, at least $200-300.
Yeah, they definitely collect fees for it. And the thing is, the more niche you are, the higher you can charge, I guess. You could probably charge more for being a Pastafarian than a Catholic.
But imagine imagine getting paid for this ridiculous thing.
Yeah, well, that's probably what's going to happen. So this wedding, if I get approved, and if I do this wedding, it's actually down in like the Bay of Islands or up in the Bay of... It's somewhere. It's not here. So I will be travelling to do the world's first Pastafarian wedding.
Are you going to wear like a thing on your head or anything?
I'll talk to the couple and decide what they want.
You're just going to be a normal guy?
No. I mean, you have to assume, because this guy's a documentary maker who's been making a doco about alternative religions for like 4 years.
You should wear the thing on your head, but also probably ideally have strands of pasta.
Yeah, like dreadlocks.
Yeah, sort of hanging down as well, like they were your hair.
Yeah. Well, that's a good idea. I was also thinking, and I'm not sure if the bride and groom will go for this, but at the end of it, I could have a jar of Domio tomato sauce, and I could take some out on the end of my finger and say, now I anoint thee with the Domio grin. And put it on their top lip. I just don't know if they'll go for that.
Yeah.
I just don't know how much of a farce they want their wedding to be.
You don't want how much of a sham this thing, how much of a joke, how much you're making light. Huh?
Yeah, nice usage, buddy. Of the
celebration, or I guess, because obviously also wearing the Domio grin has some other connotations.
Yeah, well, that's why it's funny. But yeah, so that's happening at the moment, and I'm really hoping to swoop in there and steal her thunder. And it's looking pretty promising, assuming of course that I get approved. If I get approved, I'll be the second Pastafarian wedding celebrant to be approved. So there's only one before me, but presumably they'll say yes, I guess.
Well, I've got 6 to 8 weeks before I'm confirmed to be a person fit to be an Uber driver. And I've got 2 more tests. I've got to retake my driver's course test. So I've actually got to do a practical driving course again, which is what I'm most worried about, because I can drive very competently. I've got no problems with driving, right?
But didn't you have 2 crashes in 2016? And it's only March?
Yes, but I've also never had any claims against my insurance because I've had no crashes before 2016 for the sort of, 14 years I've been driving. So, I'm quite confident with my driving skills, but as soon as you put it into that test situation, as soon as it becomes a test, it's like, oh shit. Well, now I'm thinking, I always have one hand on the wheel. That's a no-no. Oh, I'm always thinking I'm going 5k above the speed limit. Also a no-no.
I'm wanking.
I'm also
driving.
I'm also wanking as I'm driving. Big no-no in a test situation.
You can get away with it usually, particularly on the highway. You get away with it out there, but not in a test.
And so all of these things start filling my head, and I'm actually legitimately kind of concerned that I might just fail on something stupid where I'm kind of like,
well, look, mate, as long as you check your blind spot every single time,
what's your blind spot?
Okay. What's your blind spot? What? So it's the part where your mirror can't see. When you look in your right-hand rear-view mirror outside your window, that doesn't show you all of what is behind you.
You've got to look back.
There's an area over your right shoulder that your mirror can't see.
Right.
And you need to look there, otherwise you'll just turn and change lanes or whatever and crash into somebody.
So what you're saying is can't use just the rear vision and my passenger wing mirror.
No,
I have to
look
do
over your shot. Guaranteed. They'll be
which way?
Right. They'll say
this way.
Yeah, look over your right shoulder to check before you pull out into traffic and stuff. They'll make you. I bet they'll make you pull over. They'll say pull over here, and you'll pull over, and then they'll go, okay, cool, you can go now. And they'll want to see that you're checking all of your mirrors.
Yep.
And looking over your shoulder, guaranteed.
Good call.
Checking your blind spot.
I'd actually completely forgotten about that.
Yeah.
See, this is the problem: is that I may do that in real life for sure, but I wouldn't necessarily think to do it like right that second whenever they were expecting me to do it. And what I don't like about these practical driving tests is there's a couple of things they just automatic fails. It's not like, hey mate, you got 80%, good on you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey mate, you just did this one thing wrong. It's over for you. You got to do this again. And the other problem with this fucking driving thing is essentially it's, I was like, okay, I just want the next sort of available test. They're like, oh yeah, we got one on the 31st of March. It's like the 7th of March now. I was like, got anything, a bit sooner maybe? And they're like, oh, in this way out in the Wops one. So that's where I'm going. But,
way out in the Wops where you don't know the roads.
Yep. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I also have to do another exam on Tuesday, which I'm going to have sort of 3 hours sleep for because I'm going to finish work, I'm going to have a little nap and basically get up and do this exam. 3-hour test, you can't go to the toilet.
Can't go to the toilet?
Cannot go to the toilet.
That'd be a problem for me. I can go 3 hours without peeing, but sometimes I need to pee.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm a little bit worried about that particular rule. But, hopefully it'll all come together and I'll be taxiing people around the place in no time.
Well, I look like a drug dealer.
What, just in general?
Just in general. And the reason why is because I was sitting outside my work the other day. Do you want another gin and tonic? Though?
No, I can't.
I didn't
Got
think
work.
So. Yeah, so I was sitting outside my work the other day practicing my lines for my audition, and I was just minding my business. And I did notice that a hot Asian girl was walking past.
Yeah.
Purely as an observation. It's like, if I was in the wild and any other human walked past, I would totally see them, threat assessment and all that stuff. And I just happened to observe that this was a hot Asian girl.
Yeah.
And she...
Babe assessment.
A babe assessment. She walked over to me. And, naturally I assumed there must be someone behind me that she's walking to or something. But no, she came directly over to me. She took her sunglasses off and she said, hey. And I was like, hey, and
foreign territory here.
And then she was like, hey, look, I'm not from around here. She was American. She was like, I'm not from around here. And I'm just heading up to Altair Square because I heard that that's a good place where you can score some weed. Do you know anything about that?
And to be fair, you are a stoner slacktivist, so her assessment of you is true.
Well, I was sitting there with my big old beard reading a script with like a flat peak cap on and like tattoos on my legs. So look, I feel like maybe I do look a little bit like the cliche.
Yeah.
So I didn't blame her.
And what did you say to that?
I said, so your plan is just to go up and stand around Altair Square hoping to to see somebody to get some weed off? And she was like, yeah, basically. And I was like, well, you could try K Road, because I've been offered a couple of times on K Road, just minding my business.
Yeah.
And so, maybe if I was actively looking and like approaching, likely characters, you probably could find it on K Road with relative ease. So anyway, I said, well, there's a drought at the moment. This is well-known news in the right circles. There is a massive weed drought in Auckland at the moment because the harvest is in April.
Right.
It's a plant. It grows at certain times. And the harvest is in April. And so, there's a big drought in Auckland at the moment, a big, massive weed drought, and everyone's on the lookout. So I said, good luck. Good luck with that.
You didn't want to give her the hookups.
I don't really have the hookups. I'm in the same boat as everybody else.
So you don't think that through your quote unquote connections you could procure some weed should you need it?
I can't at the moment.
Really?
I literally cannot. There is not any around, and I am no special case. There's none around. That's what I'm saying. There's a drought.
Shit.
And I'm not that well connected. I've got two avenues that I chase down, and they're both dry.
Well, let me ask you this, right? If you're a single man, would you have been like, I'll go with you. Basically, like share some of your, if you did have some stash.
Look, I couldn't even speculate as to what I would do.
Speculate.
If I was a single man.
Of course you could speculate.
No, I couldn't possibly speculate.
This is a hypothetical.
A hypothetical.
This is a hypothetical.
No, I would have wished her the best, and I would have said, see you later.
At the end of the day, I guess, to being realistic, you would have been known that she was using you for your weed, and that she probably wasn't interested in pursuing a relationship
with this man 10 years older than her. This homeless, this destitute man,
bizarre bearded man,
approached on the street hoping to score some weed from.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got some. It's just in the back of my van.
We just have to go back to my place, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if that'd work.
Pick it up. Oh. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So, look, this is a filmmaking podcast.
It's also a podcast about our lives.
And what I want to talk about to wrap things up.
Well, I kind of actually wanted to debut a poem.
Well, do you want to do that at the end or now?
Better do it now, I guess.
Okay.
If we're going to do it.
Here we go.
All right, so this poem is brand new. No one's heard it. Guy hasn't heard it, apart from probably through the wall. It is now. This is the poem that I've been writing for years now to address Jefferson Bethke, who is the evangelical Christian poet that started my poetry career. Essentially, he
inspired you.
He made this poem.
Well, think about it, Harley. Without religion,
without God,
without Christianity, you
wouldn't be a poet.
Wouldn't have found your voice. And you would not be a poet right now.
Well, that might be true, but the reason why I was looking him up was because I obviously had an interest in poetry. It was growing at that time anyway. But basically, at the time, I did not. This was 4 years ago. I didn't consider myself to be a poet, but I had jotted a few things down, kind of thing. And now this Jefferson Bethke, I found him on. He shot to prominence suddenly with a video called a poem called "Why I Hate Religion But Love Jesus." And it was what made it interesting was it was like a very well shot sort of production. It wasn't just some guy on a stage. It was kind of a proper production with multiple camera angles, kind of like a music video but for a poem, which was also kind of fresh. You know, that I don't think there was a lot of that around at the time. And it sort of started this new meme, and then so other people, there was another one called "Why I Hate School But Love Education," and there was like "Why I Hate Religion But Love Allah." You know, like there was all these kind of memes that sort of came off from it. And, you know, basically his poem made me so angry that I had to become a poet. That's how angry I was. And so I started writing and...
Are you going to put the link to that in the... Actually, let's just play his poem now. Yeah, we're going to play his poem now.
What if I told you Jesus came to abolish religion? What if I told you voting Republican really wasn't his mission? What if I told you Republican doesn't automatically mean Christian, and just because you call some people blind doesn't automatically give you vision? I mean, if religion is so great, why has it started so many wars? Why does it build huge churches but fails to feed the poor? Tell single moms God doesn't love them if they've ever had a divorce, but in the Old Testament, God actually calls religious people whores. Religion might preach grace, but another thing they practice, tend to ridicule God's people. They did it to John the Baptist. They can't fix their problems, and so they just mask it, not realizing religion's like spraying perfume on a casket. See, the problem with religion is it never gets to the core. It's just behavior modification, like a long list of chores. Like, let's dress up the outside, make it look nice and neat. But it's funny, that's what they used to do to mummies while the corpse rots underneath. Now, I ain't judging, I'm just saying, quit putting on a fake look. Because there's a problem if people only know that you're a Christian by your Facebook. I mean, in every other aspect of life, you know that logic's unworthy. It's like saying you play for the Lakers just because you bought a jersey. See, this was me too, but no one seemed to be on to me. Acting like a church kid while addicted to pornography. See, on Sunday I'd go to church, but Saturday getting faded, acting if I was simply created to just have sex and get wasted. See, I spent my whole life building this facade of neatness, but now that I know Jesus, I boast in my weakness. Because if grace is water, then the church should be an ocean. It's not a museum for good people, it's a hospital for the broken. Which means I don't have to hide my failure, I don't have to hide my sin. Because it doesn't depend on me, it depends on Him. See, because when I was God's enemy, and certainly not a fan, He looked down and said, I want that man. Which is why Jesus hated religion, and for it He called them fools. Don't you see so much better than just following some rules? Now let me clarify. I love the church, I love the Bible, and yes, I believe in sin. But if Jesus came to your church, would they actually let Him in? See, remember He was called a glutton and a drunkard by religious men. But the Son of God never supports self-righteousness, not now, not then. Now back to the point, one thing is vital to mention. How Jesus and religion are on opposite spectrums. See, one's the work of God, but one's a man-made invention. See, one is the cure, but the other's the infection. See, because religion says do. Jesus says done. Religion says slave. Jesus says son. Religion puts you in bondage, while Jesus sets you free. Religion makes you blind, but Jesus makes you see. And that's why religion and Jesus are two different clans. Religion is man searching for God. Christianity is God searching for man. Which is why salvation is freely mine, and forgiveness is my own. Not based on my merits, but Jesus' obedience alone. Because He took the crown of thorns and the blood dripped down His face. He took what we all deserved. I guess that's why you call it grace. And while being murdered, He yelled, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Because when He was dangling on that cross, He was thinking of you. And He absorbed all your sin, and He buried it in the tomb, which is why I'm kneeling at the cross saying, come on, there's room. So for religion, no, I hate it. In fact, I literally resent it. Because when Jesus said, it is finished, I believe He meant it.
So I wanted to I want to start a YouTube war with Jefferson Bethke, where I post my response to his video, and hopefully he responds in kind, and hopefully all his goon followers sort of, get on board and start hating and all the rest of it, and we get millions and millions of views. So this is the poem. I'd like to address Jefferson Bethke. You see, the key to salvation is to stand on your own feet. You say you love Jesus, but hate religion, and yet they go hand in hand like the egg and the chicken. See, your love for Jesus, yeah, that makes you religious. This is more than an oxymoron, man. This is an oxy-fucking idiot. I mean, pick up a dictionary and flick to religion, and you'll see belief in a personal deity. It's the definition. And I'm sorry to hear about your addiction to pornography. But jerking off is natural, man. Don't deny your biology. I mean, which one of us is putting on a fake look? You're lying to yourself while I'm whacking it on Facebook. But at least I'm honest, though. Because nobody likes being lied to. Tell your followers the truth, Jeff. You jerk it as much as I do. You say you love the Bible, you love the church, and yes, you believe in sin. You are religion incarnate, mate. You are the problem. See, you are supporting a hateful ideology. If you want to see the evidence, just look to anthropology. You need to stop writing poems, Jeff, and start writing apologies, because what you believe in has affected the world horribly. Now shut your mouth, Jeff, because I know what you're going to say. Oh, come on, Harley. You're just interpreting it the wrong way. How many ways can you interpret rape is okay? Deuteronomy. Kill the gays, their blood guiltness is upon them. Leviticus. This is ridiculous. You love the Bible? Have you read the fucking thing? So here comes the truth. You and I are actually quite alike. We're both simians, searching for the meaning of life, but I was brave enough to say, who am I? And I realized I'm just a guy with a mind designed to see trees and medium-sized objects bounding in the prairie. You can tell yourself fairy tales to stop yourself going insane, but at the end of the day, the truth is quite plain. After we die, we wander the plains as atoms in the eve. Don't you see? We're both made of the same stuff. We're space dust. So if you think about it, dude, I'm the universe talking to itself and then listening through you. And that's that.
Yeah. Well, look, it's all good stuff, I guess.
That's the guy picked in the seal of non-approval.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's all right, but I do think that without that context, you're kind of like, who's he ranting about and why?
And that's the point. It's a response video.
Yeah,
it is a response video.
Yeah, so we really do have to play that first.
Well, how are you going to insert that into the before I did it?
I'll just say, like, I don't know.
Do a voiceover. Interlude. Here is Jefferson Bethke's one.
But yes, well, good one.
So I was thinking about making a video for that at some point, but I was just going to keep it real simple. Here's what I was going to do. I was just going to be naked.
Good start.
Out of focus, real shallow depth of field. I was just going to walk into focus, into an MCU, and just deliver it like straight to the camera right there like that, like I'm talking directly to Jefferson Bethke. Keep it simple, put it on the internet. And then probably maybe at the end walk back out of focus.
It's also a bit fucking long.
Well, that's... I don't even know how long that was, but they're all about 3 minutes or so. His one's 4 minutes. 4 minutes? His one's 4 minutes, I
guess so.
Yeah, they're all between 3 and 4 minutes. But that's actually... it's not finished. There's this whole other verse that I want to try and get in there about space.
Well, I would advise against that for the sake of brevity. So...
Thanks, Guy.
Well,
hey,
look,
I've got some advice for you. Make it shorter.
Well, I would got some advice for you. Keep it not longer. Well, shit. That took so long. We might have to stop it there. We might have to retire this other topic because Harley's poem took too long.
Oh, boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. You don't get another topic.
So that has been us for today.
Here's the important things you can do for us. You can go and watch I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, facebook.com/ISAZH. You can go to Patreon and search Pigville, or you can go to Facebook and go facebook.com/Guy and Harley, where you'll find the Guy and Harley podcast fan page. Hit like, and there you'll find the link to Patreon if you want to give us $1 per video we put out, or whatever. These are the really important things you can do for us at the moment. Failing that, just go to YouTube, search Pigville, and watch our content, because we get paid when you watch. And Guy is so broke at the moment that we really need those views.
Also, if you're a driving instructor for VTNZ, if you could just put your name down for 2:15 p.m. on March the 21st and cut me some slack, eh?
Yeah.
Shit.
Out in the WAP somewhere, though.
Massey. Yeah. Anyway, it says the VTNZ Westgate. So anyway, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Good night. You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.